If you're still guessing which systems your construction business actually needs, it's costing you time, it's costing you money, and sanity. We've helped hundreds of contractors escape the chaos by building these exact systems to create clarity, consistency, and serious profits. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how. The number one reason why contractors are stuck is because they're unclear on which systems to build. That leads to being unorganized with the systems and getting this stuff in place. And then finally, you're just unfocused because you don't know where to prioritize because you are unclear about which system. So in this video, I'm going to be going through this working document. I'm going to be going through all the different areas. So there's 9 big kind of functions of a business that you need to build systems in. And I'm going to be going step by step, which exact systems you need in every function of your business so that you can be very clear. And the reason for doing this is because it's going to be a scorecard. As you can see, we've got like none, weak, average, strong, world-class. That's where you want to be. You want to be world-class on everything, obviously. And you're going to start by doing a self-assessment. You're going to go through all of these different things and you're going to say, where are we at? Are we, do we not have this in place? Are we kind of weak? Like we sort of have it, but it's not really anything. It's not really we're not getting results from it. Is it average? It's like, we've got it in place. It's kind of running, but it takes myself as a business owner to do it. Otherwise it doesn't get done. Strong is like you've delegated it to someone, the system's running, you don't really need to be involved. And then world class is like you don't even think about it. It's everything's operating perfectly. Someone else does it. You've got training around this. So it's not just that like you've delegated to one person, but you've actually like had to have other people come into the business. They quickly get trained on it and run it. You're not even involved in like maybe a little bit of training, but even ideally that world class is like you are hands off and just being like the leadership position of your business. So that's where we want to get to. You can then see we've got a priority column here. So where's the priority for these different functions of your business? And this is where a lot of, guys go wrong because it's like everything's a priority or like you get some software. So you're working on that. And then it's like, oh, we need to hire someone. So then you work on that. And it's like, you have all these like half-built systems or it's chaotic. It's unorganized. The reason for this is we can see now what is more priority, where do we need to build things up, and how has things changed over time. So you might have something like, clear brand guide, niche and ideal client avatar. It's like, yeah, we kind of like know who our ideal clients are. We don't really have a document or anything specific. Or the document we have was done like 2 years ago. We need to update that, right? So you go and you get it updated. Now you're like, oh yeah, we've got it. We're average. And then maybe over time you get really clear on your niche and your ideal client, and you've got all this like really great branding and everything. And now you've moved up to strong. So over time, you're going to come back to this document, and maybe every 3 months to 6 months, once you've built out systems and certain things, you're going to see a lot more check marks and slowly moving towards that world-class, end goal that we're looking for there. So that's how you use this document. I'm now going to go over the different pieces of all these different systems and show you what the big functions are here, and then give you a little bit of insight of like what that actually means or what it looks like or what you need to do as far as like action steps and stuff like that. So it's sort of chronological for the most part of a business, and we're going to start with marketing and sales because that's the engine. Like we need that revenue, we need the leads coming into the business, money coming into the business. So first thing is like getting your branding in place. So do you have a brand guide, like an actual document that shows these are our colors, this is our message, this is our ideal client, this is the niche that we service, these are the type of projects we do, this is, It really explains everything there is to know about like you as a company. What does that mean? So where's that at? Consistent lead generation. So are you sending out emails? Do you have online advertising? Do you have signage? Do you have branded hoodies and hats and shirts and stuff for your guys? Do you have truck wraps? So like all of that, those kind of like lead gen things going on, is that in place? Where are you at with that? Do you have a modern website? Has it been updated in the last year? Does it look professional? Does it look like it attracts the type of ideal clients that you want? Does it have tracking so you know your metrics of how many people are visiting, where they're coming from, their demographics, all that kind of stuff? Consistent social media presence on 4+ platforms. So are you hitting up LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be? Are you pushing out content to all those platforms regularly? I would say at least on a weekly basis. Where are you at with that? Are you still doing it, or is somebody else in your company? So this isn't just like, are you doing it? This is like the system around it. You just doing it, that would be kind of weak, because if you don't have any rhyme or reason for posting, it's just like I create a video and put it out there, then that would be like a week. An average would be like I've got an admin or I've got a marketing company that does that for me. they handle it, then you might be an average or even a strong, depending on where things are at with that. Do you have some sort of a marketing, ideally a CRM that's tracking your ROIs, your KPIs, all those kind of things? Do you know how many leads are coming in, where they're coming from, how many are converting, all that kind of stuff? You need to know that information. And then some sort of like networking program for referrals and reviews. So how many referrals are you getting from networking partners? Could be designers, real estate agents, business professionals, architects, whatever it may be. Do you have a system and a process for that, for outreach, so that you're connecting with more and more people, professionals in your industry that you can then refer business to, but they can also refer business to you? So that's the marketing assets there. Now we'll move on to the sales assets. So for sales, do you have scripts? Do you have techniques for sales, for closing? Do you have all those kind of sales materials in your company? Do you have upsells, follow-up service strategy? So after someone's completed a project with you, what happens? Do you have follow-up services where you can still generate revenue from it? Do you have upsells that you can provide, upgrades for services, things like that? Do you have a training program for internal training, as far as like if you have an estimator or a salesperson come in, do you have materials to help train them so that they can be effective? Common objections and response list. This is super important. So having an objections list of like, these are all like the top 10 objections that clients bring up. Oh, it's too pricey. I'm looking at other contractors. The timing's not right. There's a million and one reasons why someone might say that they don't want to go forward with the project, but there's probably like a top 3 that most potential clients are going to say, or top, and have your top 5 to 10, and then have formulated responses so that you know how to handle those objections. Do you have sales goals and tracking? What is your goal this quarter, this month, this week? And are you able to track it to know if you're meeting your goals or not? Dedicated marketing and sales CRM. So this is not a project management software. It's not what you use to manage your projects. This is a dedicated marketing and sales CRM that handles your everything prior to actually like talking with a client, if you will. So this is like for lead gen. This is for sending out marketing. This is for contact management, for follow-ups, for guiding people before you get them in like a PCSA agreement or whatever the first kind of agreement step is. Pre-construction package and process. So this is super important. If you don't have some sort of pre-construction process or package that you can offer, PCSA agreement, you need to get one in place. Where is that at? Do you sign all your clients into PCSA and it's a natural process in your system of lead generation, or is it kind of like you just refer them to somebody like a designer and then hope for the best that later they come to you for construction? So where's things at for that? All right, moving on. So as you can see, we're getting fairly detailed, and each one of these points, there's like a whole depth to this. And later on in the video, you'll see kind of what all the different functions are. But essentially for most of these, you're going to need an SOP document as well as some training in place, so that these systems run so you can get to the strong world class. If you aren't there yet, the first thing is just to document what you're doing currently to kind of get to this week average stage of like, I don't have it delegated yet, but at least we have some sort of a document that explains what we do, and you put enough thought into it to get it on paper and formulate it into like specific steps, right? So that's the first step there. All right, for estimating, you're going to need a cost items and cost codes database. So using cost codes so you can do job tracking and all that kind of stuff, as well as cost items. So this is like your pricing database. How much does this cost? How much does that cost, right? So having that to refer to for pricing. Build out estimating templates. So do you have templates for estimating for all your top, I would say 3 to 5 types of projects? So it could be new home builder, full home remodel, or commercial project, right? Whatever it may be. Do you have a cover sheet that has like a marketing aspect to it for your proposals, for your estimates, so that you're not just kind of winging it or emailing a bunch of numbers to someone, but there's actually some sort of a brochure aspect or cover page that promotes your company, lets them know your process, and provides a bit more of an experience to them. In your estimating, do you have defined types of estimates? Typically, you're going to give a ballpark early on as far as the scope of the project to realize, is this feasible? Does the client, want to build $1 million home for $600,000? If that's the case, you'll figure that out with the ballpark before you spend a whole bunch of time building out an actual estimate for them, right? Or helping them bring their expectations into line with actual real life pricing. Then you're going to have a rough budget and then a detailed estimated budget where you put it out to bids and you've got, selections and supplier quotes and all that kind of stuff, right? So having an iterative budgeting process. Request for bids. Do you have a system to send out bid requests to your subcontractors? And how seamlessly does that incorporate with your whole process? Job cost actual review and feedback loop. So this is a huge one. It's very difficult to get set up. The software makes it easier, but the human component and just everything involved, it's hard to get it accurate. But do you have some sort of job costing in place so that you know how much you spent per project and ideally how much you spent per part of the project? How much we spent on framing or labor, or finishing or painting or whatever, right? So having that feedback loop so that your estimating is always being refined based off of real world numbers and what's actually happening on site. So that's the estimating assets there. As you can see, there is so much that goes into systemizing business. And this is where a lot of people on the outside looking in, often when I talk with, new potential clients, it's like, yeah, we want to, like, how fast can we do this, right? And I typically say, like, this is even moving really fast and getting our help with this and like taking our done for you services. Like, we have all of this built out. We've done this with dozens and dozens of contractors in a very hands-on way, and even, hundreds as far as like providing our systems and templates and everything on more of a give it to them and let them run with it. But either way, like, even with guided help, getting all this stuff in place and getting it working properly and implemented and your team using it, that is a full 1 to 2 years process, depending on how fast you move, the size of your business, where you're at, and all those things, right? So that's why it's so important and why this can get so tricky and why a lot of contractors can be 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road and still have a mess of a company where they're, still struggling, working 70, 80 hours a week and being the big bottleneck in their company, right? Because this takes time. And if you don't know what you're doing and you're not focused, it can get away on you really easy. So pay attention, stick with me here. I know it can get a little bit, dialed in with the minutia here, but it's really important stuff. Client experience. So after the estimate, now we got client experience. Do you have great contracts in place, different types of contracts for your different types of builds and things that you may need? New client onboarding. So this is a really important first step for clients on the onboarding. Like, what happens on the admin side? What happens for the client facing side of it, where you're sending out an email? What does the email like? How do they do selections? How do you get them in the PCSA construction agreement process? How do you welcome them to the company? How do you set up their account, their folders, like whatever needs to happen, right? So you got the onboarding process. Expectations. You need to set expectations with clients. Otherwise, you're in for a rough time because clients are going to set their own expectations and they're going to have high ones. So you need to bring them down to reality often of construction. There's going to be some issues to pop up. There's going to be some mess. We're going to ask you for payments on stuff, ahead of time or whatever, right? So set those expectations early. You have a client portal where they can get the information that they need without having to call you for it. Very important. And communication. Do you have weekly updates you're sending them? Do you have regular meetings with them? Like, how does the communication come into play with client experience? Selections and allowance tracking. So again, how well are you able to work through in the pre-construction, having the client have selected everything? And, if you've provided allowance for something, is what they selected above or below the allowance? Are you budgeting for that before you sign the agreement? Because you don't want to get into an agreement where you've included something and now, you've made a mistake somewhere and they've actually selected something that's cost twice as much, right? And you're kind of you have to have that difficult conversation where either you ask them to pay more or you have to eat it and your profitability takes a nosedive. All right. So post-project process and follow-up. What happens after the project, right? So if you've done a great experience for the client, you're going to want to ask them for a review. You're going to want to ask, testimonial for referrals. Hopefully, you're going to want a follow-up process as far as warranty and making sure you're taking care of any, being proactive with any issues that come up and letting them know at what point do you fix issues. You don't want to just be them calling hey, this baseboard's a little loose, and then you come in and fix it, and then 2 weeks later, hey, we got a paint touch up here, and then you come in and fix it or whatever, right? Or we got a drywall crack, right? So having that post project of okay, yeah, we're going to document all these issues, and then at 3 months we'll come and fix everything, and then we'll check with you, a month before 1 year comes up to make sure that when that 1 year warranty expires, that we've taken care of any issues that may have popped up before that. So again, client experience, you want it to be top notch because every client can then refer other clients, and it's just natural process of doing great work and great client experience for them referring you and you growing as a business. And then, kind of mention review and issue tracking there. All right. So now you've got a great experience with the client. Now we need project management. What's the systems behind project management? Well, you're going to need a dedicated project management software, field software. Like I mentioned, this is separate than the CRM. And I'm sure you're already familiar with this. If you don't have one, go get one. I've got other videos on which ones I recommend, but you're going to need a good project management software. You need scheduling templates for all your major types of builds. So you can just plug and play a schedule. Of course, you're going to, adjust it per project depending on how the project is. Change order process. So what happens when a change order comes up? How does that get processed? Sub-trade, labor, communication and scheduling. How do you deal with sub-trades? How do they know what the schedule is? How do you communicate with them? All those kind of things. How do they get paid? How do they tell you what the pricing is for estimating? All that kind of stuff. Project and quality control checklist. This is super important. I had a client who we were helping, it was a couple months back, and we got on the call, our regular coaching call, and was asking, so do you get the quality control checks in place? How that's going? Is like, yeah, my project manager, I called them the other day to see where we're at with the project. Usually it takes like about 2 weeks or whatever to close out a project because there's all these like little things that we need to call people back for and, get this fixes and the final things before we can hand it over to the client. And my project manager said, no, we're completed. Like we're done. We used the quality control checklist and now there's like a few days of like some minor things to take care of, but we don't have to call really anybody back to come do anything. We're good to go here. We can get the client moving in earlier than our normal like 2 weeks after our regular completion punch out list. So quality control checklist, super important. You need those in place. And a lot of the stuff, it's like getting it in place is one thing, but then getting people on board so they're actually following the checklist and know what they're doing and utilizing and calling the people at the right time to come fix their stuff ahead of time. That's where you get to world class. Time tracking and job costing by project and category. So I kind of mentioned that earlier with the estimating, but all expenses should be tracked. All hours should be tracked. You should know specifically for every project, like to the number, to the dollar, how much did we spend on every single category of this project? Is it over, under, where we at, right? And this should be in pretty much real time. It's never going to be 100% real time because there's like some processing, but within it should never be more than like a week behind, up to like a week. You should know exactly how much you've spent in the project and where the budget is going. So you can easily see, is this going off the rails? Are we under? Are we over? Where are things at, right? All right, moving on to the next piece of the puzzle here with systems, human resources, assets. So a lot of the stuff we mentioned is like processes. Now it's like the people in the business. How do we create processes and systems that improve the people, but also enable them to do their job better? So you should have roles, job description, responsibilities for every part of your project or every part of your company. So carpenter, project manager, foreman, office admin, estimator, whatever it may be, VP sales, marketing, whatever, however big your company is, however many roles you've got, you should have a specific job description and everyone should have specific roles with, what's their performance indicators, what are specific responsibilities that they should have, accountabilities that they have for their role. Do you know the ideal employee avatar? So a lot of people have ideal clients. Who's the ideal client we want to work with? Who's the ideal employee you want for specific roles? You're going to find that different types of people are better suited for different roles, how much experience they have, their personality, all those different kind of things play into how effective they're going to be in that role of your business. Your hiring process, your application, database, keeping all the people that applied to you before in a database is super important because you may be hiring for, let's say, a carpentry position. You get like 100 resumes, maybe 10 of them are pretty decent people. You only end up interviewing the top 3 and then you hire the top 1, right? And then the next time that you want to go hire someone for that same job, maybe 6 months later and, somebody quit or you're growing, you need another carpenter, whatever it may be, you can now push your advertising out to all those previous applicants because maybe those other 2 people that were a good fit have now got jobs somewhere else, but the job's not really working out, but they're not looking for job ads on Indeed or, some online directory, but they could be a really great fit for your company. You need to have their contact information to be able to contact those people afterwards because now they have 6 months more experience and the things may have changed for them and they may be, a good fit for your company at this point. So really important to have that prior applicant database of candidates that have applied for jobs before. Training programs, materials for all positions. So having proper SOP documents and training so that people can, watch videos, get materials so that you have a trained labor force. And it's so important. Training in construction is generally not very good. The world I came from when I started out as a wee little lad framing houses was pretty much go over there and rip apart this or go cut that and do that and try not to saw your arm off in the process, right? There was zero training, and it's poor that it's that kind of expected in the industry that you get on the job training. And it's usually just telling people what to do, right? So have a good experience for your employees, especially, the younger guys nowadays. They don't have that run around the yard, go and fall out of trees kind of conditioning that a lot of of the older guys had, where it was like, we're just self-sufficient and we understand what hard work is, right? So having a good training program is super essential, not just for the field guys, especially for all your office staff and everyone like that, right? So weekly staff meetings, so having regular meetings with people, whether it's field guys or office, your management team, you need certain meetings for certain groups of people. Your employee agreements, so you should have agreements with all your employees, contract handbooks, and that onboarding process. You should have a retention and incentive program. So how do you keep people? You spent all this time hiring them, training them. You're going to want to have some sort of program and system to help keep them in the business long term. Doing performance reviews, health and safety programs. You don't want people getting injured. Mission, vision, core value statements. So does everyone know what the business stands for, what the core values are, all that kind of stuff, right? So those are the big components of a human resources, assets that you want to get in your company. All right, so we got 3 more to go here. I know this can probably get a little tedious, but this is so important. Just because you don't have anything in one of these categories, or you're really poor, like none or weak in one of them, doesn't mean you need to focus on it. The way that I would look at it is you need to focus on what's the biggest bang for your buck. So either what's going to help with the most profitability, typically speaking, that's going to be marketing, sales, and estimating, or what is the biggest frustration for you? If you're overwhelmed with work and you're doing all the project management, then maybe like project managing. So typically what's going to give you the best profit is the systems you want to start with, or what's going to like give you the most peace of mind as far as like save you the most amount of time. So time and money, right? And that's where you want to focus with these. All right. So admin operation assets. So this is the office admin side of things. Do you have an organization chart? Are you clear on like what does the structure of your business look like for now, where things are at right now, but also for the future? Because if in the future it's like we want to go from 2 million in sales to 10 million in sales, well, that 10 million business, you're now going to need vice presidents of all the different, larger structure of your business and more people. How much is it going to cost to hire those people? What's the overhead, right? So you need that organization chart. So that's really important. Cloud file storage system. So having a great storage system for files. Every project should have its own folder. And how do we share things, keep track of all the information and have that all organized so everyone knows how to access what they need to, when they need to. Company space. So if you've got office space, you got a shop, you got equipment, whatever it may be, vehicles, how do they get maintained? How do we keep track of them? How do we know they're not getting abused and roughed up, right? Data and file automation. So whatever you can automate, go nuts and automate. So there's a lot of stuff around data and files and communications that can be automated. Do you have a dedicated admin manager? So you could have admin staff. Do you have a dedicated manager who's managing the office? Super important piece of the puzzle there. How self-sufficient are they and how much are they running the system without your involvement? Client and subtrade contract management. So keeping good contracts with your subtrades to make sure that you're paying them what they promised to do the jobs for and that their invoicing is in line with that. Do you have contracts for them? Task tracking and delegation system. So this is, I could probably add to this as well too, or the human resources is you should have some sort of decision document or decision training as well as far as like leadership. And I may have that in the next section a little later on, but our people know what decisions they can make and how they should make decisions. Do you know how to track tasks? So if someone needs to do something, is everybody on the same page of what needs to get done and how to delegate things to other people? All right, we got our last 2 here, functions, and then I'm going to be sharing with you some pitfalls right at the end of the video of like where things often go wrong. You may be excited now, like, wow, this helps so much, gives me clarity. But I'm going to be going over some of the big pitfalls that happen where I see contractors going off the rails, or they kind of like have a lot of energy and make a lot of progress, and then it just kind of peters and dies out, and they never get to that final stage. So financial assets, is your bookkeeping up to date and reviewed weekly? You should have a regular pulse on your cash flow, on the bookkeeping, what's happening, and you should have a bookkeeper in place that gets this done without you, because because as you know, your time is not spent well bookkeeping. You should know what's happening with the numbers, but you should not be doing any bookkeeping. Key financial reports, dashboards. So, some sort of dashboard. So, again, where your cash flow's at, where the money's at, or where expenses, up and down and all around. So having some sort of dashboard so you can get a quick view of the financial health of your business. Cash flow. So do you have a system around how does money get deposits? How do checks get deposits? How do we invoice? I would prefer weekly invoicing should be going out. Accounts receivable, accounts payable. How does it get tracked? How does it get managed? How do we ensure clients are paying on time? What happens if they don't pay within 1 week and within 2 weeks, within a month, within 3 months, right? How do we as a company handle that situation? It should all be very communicated inside documentation. Someone should be trained on that system. Bank accounts. Do we have multiple bank accounts? I like the profit first system. So we got an income account, a profit account, expense, tax, draw, all these different bank accounts that we allocate funds to, right? So we're going to put this percentage into profit. We're going to take profit 5%, put it over here. Income, that's like 70 or 60% of income goes to paying expenses or whatever, right? So allocating all of those into different bank accounts. Monthly personal investment retirement strategy. So this is for you. This is kind of like outside of your business, but do you have an investment strategy of investments outside of your business so that even if like high water comes or something happens to your business or something happens to your health or your family's health and you have to close your business or sell it or pass it on or whatever, that you are taken care of and you've got money and investments that are giving you some sort of income and you have a retirement strategy so that you can be free of your business if you need to at any point. All right, the last kind of big function that a lot of people don't really realize that they need and is more of kind of a later state, but super important is your professional development assets. So this is the leadership side of your business. So do you have a leadership training program for training leaders? Leaders are everywhere. Your foreman, your project managers, your office manager, your VP, marketing, sales, estimating, whatever it may be, right? You need to become a leader of leaders in order to be able to let go and step back from your business. So you're going to need a training program to make sure you're training and facilitating leadership inside your organization. You want to be participating in business mastermind groups. You should be surrounding yourself with other business owners. It could be other contractors, but at the very least, other business organizations within your local area. It could be an online thing like a group coaching or group mastermind, whatever it may be. You need to have that community around you and those people that are helping you build and providing new insight, new energy into your business. Time and priority management training. So again, you should be training personal type training as far as like your project managers, your other manager, your company, like how do they prioritize what's important? How do they, use their time effectively? You need to be training around that. You can't just expect someone to know that this is important or that, create a schedule of time to make sure that they're blocking time out for certain activities regularly so they're staying on top of the ball and everything like that. Emotional intelligence and mental health program. Very few construction businesses, unless you're quite a large one, probably have this in place, but it can be a big help for the business. And you don't have to get all mushy and like be talking about this all the time, but you should have some resources available and a little bit of training around like emotional intelligence. And you get pissed off, you want to throw your hammer at your coworker. Take a breath, do this, right? You need to cool down, tell your supervisor, I need to go grab a drink and whatever, right? So, and how to handle those type of situations. So mental health program, very important. Personality, self-discovery resource. This would be more for your management team. You don't need to do this with your site guys. You can if you want, but it's probably not necessary. But with your project management team, especially your leadership team, it's good to know personality traits of everybody. If you've ever done this yourself, you know how eye-opening it can be of like, what type of personality do you have? And how do you interact? There's a personality like of you personally, but there's also like a team personality where how does this type of person interact in a team environment and how do they all kind of fit together? You're going to have like certain people that are more aligned with certain traits of team involvement and others that are a different way, right? So that can be really helpful for everybody. And then finally, an internal coaching program. So if you are the leader of leaders and you're bringing someone up into like a general manager position or some senior position in your company, you're going to want to have some sort of a training or mentoring program to help facilitate that with inside your organization. All right, so now I'm going to be sharing with you where things go really wrong and common system blind spots that sabotage growth. The big one is leadership. There's a lot of new stuff that's going to be coming in here. So change management is going to be really important. And you, as the leader of your company, are going to have to facilitate that change management. So it's going to involve you kind of having to level up your leadership skills, your communication skills, and communicating with people of like how to get this stuff done, why it's important, why you're changing things, why you're creating this stuff, right? So that leadership is really important. And it's often, this can kind of be the breakdown of like, you've maybe gone and geeked off and like created like these great systems and SOPs and everything, but then you go to implement and people are like not using it, don't care about it. It's like, what's this guy talking about? And you're going to need to facilitate that and use your leadership skills. The training portion of it is another big like blind spot. A lot of people think like, oh, I just need to get the system in place. If I have an SOP document and I create a training video, then the system should run itself. But that is not just enough in that. You need to have like a training system of like, how do we actually make sure someone is meeting the mark and doing this properly? It's more than just like, go watch this video or go read this SOP and then go do the thing, right? There needs to be a way that we train people to make sure that there's checks and balances, that the processes are being followed, and it's not just getting forgotten about, or they're doing it their own way and everything's inconsistent. Busyness is another big pitfall. If you're too busy to work on systems, if you can't hash out like 2 to 4 hours, what I suggest is taking an afternoon off, or if you need to, if you're just way too busy, then like a Saturday morning or something like that, where you can sit down for a solid 2, 3, 4 hours, get yourself a fresh cup of coffee or tea or whatever you need to do, and just go to work and work on your business and build this system. And if you don't know what to do and you're struggling and everything, reach out to us, because this is what we do. We build these systems for contractors and help them through this process. But at the very least, just mark out some time and make sure that you're not too busy to build systems, because every system you get in place is going to help free you of your business and give you more time to then work on other systems. And there's this snowball effect. After you get these big functions in place and you've built out these systems to like the average, the good stage, then you can have more free time to then build out other systems, and it works really well. You don't have to build out all these systems either. You can get an admin person or somebody to help you, right? Software. Software is another big one where you may be not using the right software stack and it's hurting you. So I've seen this too, where best intentioned contractors, they're building out systems and they build out all the systems around like very customizable type software or something that's maybe cheap, or they got referred by some other type of contractor that's not even like similar business to them. And it's like, sorry, but we got to ditch this software. It's just like, it's not going to serve you well. And you need to like rip off that Band-Aid now, even though you've maybe been using it for years. You need to take that step of like, we need to upgrade you, get you on something that's more suitable and better suited for you, for your software stack. So that could be another one. Last one I'm going to mention is a system standardization. So you need, before you go ahead, diving in headlong into all of this systemization, is put a little bit of thought into what is the like structure of the systems I'm going to put in place. So the ones that I suggest is like, you need an SOP document, you need a training video, and you need a workflow. And those are kind of the three big components, but make sure they're always consistent so that when you're building out your project management system, there's a project management SOP. And when you're doing estimating, you have an estimating SOP, and the two of them look the same. They're in the same, folder structure. Everything is organized and consistent from system to system to system to system. Similar software that you're using, and trying to kind of bring everything into one type of system consistency, so that it's not like we've got, a spreadsheet over here, document over there, we've got some software here, we got a training video there, and it's just like a mess of like a big pile of steaming, hot garbage of systems that are kind of working here, there, and everywhere, right? You need some, you need to bring all the systems together and have like a standard setup so that everything is in one place, organized and working great. So build out your business, systemize. You're on a journey here. It's going to take you a while. If you want to speed that up, get rapid results, reach out to us. We'd love to help you with this and give you more clarity, give you done for you systems. You don't have to build this out. We've already done it. So if you want an easier way, reach out to us. I'll see you on the next video.